So there's this concept in some spiritual views that of the concept of karma, that when we do something good or bad, we are generating karma. And some of the concepts sort of believe that eventually that karma is going to come back to us, and sometimes it doesn't come back to us until our next life, if we're reincarnated, if you hold that belief. So we have this idea that karma is going to be out there and it comes back to us. And I think, whether or not that's tied to a spiritual view or not, I believe the concept of a karma-like system is absolutely appropriate, because I look at the world and individuals in it and how we're all connected and how we all communicate and collaborate with each other. It's part of a larger system. We're basically a huge mesh network with the way that we communicate with each other, with the way we come into contact with, and how we treat each other. So, for this example, the way I'm feeling at any given day, and that's based on a number of different attributes, or things that I do, things that I feel, the things that people say to me, or the things I read on social media, or things I hear from the news, affect me. And they affect my emotional state, they affect where I go, where I drive, who I talk to, who I ignore, who I treat well, and who I treat badly. And the people that I affect most are the people in my closest circle, my family, my friends, my coworkers. And the effect that I have on them, because of what I say and what I act, affects what they do. And they then take some of my energy, some of my emotional trauma or emotional goodness that I passed on to them, and it affects them. And they then pass that on, combined with their own stuff that they've received from other people, other sources, and things that they've developed internally onto other people. And in that way, a portion of what I've done in any given day flows on from one person to the next, until those ripples basically go from a local area to a statewide area to a national level, and finally all around the world. And when you look at it from that perspective, that flow of action, of emotion, of reaction, that if you look at that as being karma, and when you do something, good or bad, that affects other people and eventually goes around the world, eventually that comes back to you. Now, your original intent obviously is masked by a lot of other things, because it's mixed in with everybody else's emotions and all that stuff all around the world. But essentially, the world you see around you, all the good and all the bad, is a direct reflection of how you react, how you think, how you treat other people, and how everybody else treats each other. Because it's all mixing together, and it creates the world that we have today. Everything we see, everything that we breathe in, everything that we feel is a combination of not only our own actions and our own thoughts, but a combination of everyone's thoughts around the world. And that flow of karma around the world, it does come back to us, at least at that level, that it all mixes in. Very interesting. For me, it's like this very interesting scenario where, with that concept that what you do has a direct impact on the world, it's very similar to the butterfly effect, right? When you make a certain action or take a certain step, that thing that you do affects a much larger world in ways that you don't fully understand. But, when you look at it from that perspective, each of us as an individual, no matter how we act individually as ourselves, we are partially, in some small way, responsible for all the good things that we see in the world. But we are also at the same time partially, in a small way, responsible for all the bad or negative things that we see in the world. We are all partially responsible, even at a very small level, no matter how we live our lives, for the fact that there is terrorism in the world. Just because of the way we are connected. Because how we act as individuals not only affects our lives individually, but it affects our immediate circle, who then affect more people around the world. And that influences minds, and it affects people, and that leads people to treat other people, other cultures, in a different way. And it's because of that we are partially responsible for both the good and the bad things all around the world. So if there are things that you see in the world that you're not happy with, like terrorism, like war, like crime, like poverty, like disease, then we have to take a look at how we solve those things on a global scale, obviously, but we have to initially start with how we act, how we think. Because it's only by changing ourselves that we can actually affect the whole world effectively together. And maybe we don't need everyone working together to accomplish great things in this world, but at least we need some kind of critical mass of people that understand that concept, that we are all connected, and that each and every one of us, no matter what we do in life, we are constantly creating the world around us, that we are constantly generating and receiving karma, or that something similar to that, whatever you want to call it, on a daily basis, from the moment we wake up until the moment we go to sleep, that we are responsible for the world around us. And if we want the world to be a better place, we need to first take a look at ourselves and say, what can I do differently? How can I be more positive? What can I do to help others? And if we do that, we can affect the world at a massive scale in a short amount of time, if we can communicate that to people.